Today I'm going to be reviewing the Gamesir Supernova controller. This was sent to me for free by Gamesir, but they do not get to see this video before it's published, and this will be a completely objective review. If you want the too long didn't watch review, this is a great substitute for the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. In fact, I think it's better in most ways. And it's also cheaper at $50 versus the Pro controller's $70 list price. I know you can get it cheaper on sale, but this is $50 list price, so you might be able to get it cheaper, I don't know. So you can use it on the Switch. You can also use it on PC, iOS, Android. And one of the first reasons that it's better than a Pro controller is that it has an actual on and off switch. I can't tell you how many times my Pro controller has died in a bag because one of the buttons was being pressed, so it was just endlessly trying to sync. This has a power switch where you can switch it to Bluetooth on one side and then to the wireless receiver on the other. So I personally have it set up for the wireless receiver to only be for my Switch, and then Bluetooth is what I use with my Mister. It's really nice because I don't have to resync it every time when I want to use it with a different system. It has Hall effect sticks, so you're supposed to not get any drifting. I obviously can't do the testing that's required to see if that's actually true or not, because I would have to use it for years for drift to actually start to develop even on a regular Switch Pro controller. So the next way that it's better than a Pro controller is that the D-pad is much better. The way that I test the D-pad is in F0. If you go over a ramp, you're holding down and you still want to be going left and right. The Nintendo Switch Pro controller is notorious for having false inputs when you're going left and right. This controller isn't perfect, but it is definitely an improvement over the Pro controller. It has two shortcut buttons on the back, which are programmable. So you can just choose any button that you want and then program it to one of these buttons. I know for me, when I play first-person shooters, that would be fantastic, but I don't really play any first-person shooters on the Switch. So for me, it's not that useful, but I could imagine it being useful for other people. It comes with a controller charging stand, which the Pro controller obviously does not. That's not a huge deal. Like, I don't mind plugging in a cable, but if you're somebody who uses a controller a lot and you want quick recharging, that is a bonus. And this is not a big deal to me, but maybe to some people. It has a swappable faceplate. And they sent me one extra. Whoops. Okay, well, that segues into my next point, which is that you can swap X and Y, and you prefer to have the A and the B swapped and the X and the Y swapped. You can do that. And just to clarify, it's not just a cosmetic thing where you switch out the B and the A buttons. You can actually swap the B and the A button in the software. So it will send a command that says that when you press this button, it's actually pressing this button. And when you press this button, it's actually pressing this button. So depending on the system you're playing on, like say if you're playing on iOS and you want the A button to be here, you could swap them cosmetically, but you can also swap the actual inputs. But these faceplates are magnetic, so they just snap right back on like that. And if that's something you're into, you can do that. Now, there's a whole bunch of other features that this controller has, and it has instructions for pretty much every language imaginable. I do not use most of these features, but I did test all of them. So I can say that they all work well. So I already mentioned you can change the shortcut buttons. You can change the stick's dead zones. You can turn on turbo for any of the buttons. So you, instead of having to tap the button really fast, you can just hold it. You can adjust the vibration intensity, and that's actually kind of helpful because when I was playing Wave Race 64 on the Nintendo Switch Online, the vibration was so intense that I had to turn the vibration down. Interestingly though, when I played Wave Race 64 on my Mister, the default vibration was perfect. So I think that's more the programming of the Nintendo Switch Online rumble than the actual controller's rumble, really. You can customize the RGB lighting. You can change the effects, change the brightness, saturation, animation speed, and you can switch colors. None of that is interesting to me, and in fact, I turned the lighting off because I don't want this annoying light while I'm actually using the controller. The only things that I don't like are the home button and the screenshot button are too close to select and start. So I'll eventually get used to this because I'll get a feel for where they are. If they had kept it spaced the same way the Switch Pro controller was, that would be much better. There is an analog trigger throw adjustment switch. This is the shortest and this is the longest. I actually don't like the short throw. It feels close to a Switch Pro controller, but not as good because it has a little bit of squishiness. And if you're playing on the Switch, these analog triggers won't do you any good because the Switch doesn't have analog triggers. But if you're playing on iOS or PC or whatnot, then you could actually take advantage of that. So the Switch Pro controller is $70 list price. I know it goes on sale plenty, so you can probably get it down to like 55 or 60. And the Supernova is $50 list price. That is not the cheapest third-party Switch controller option. So whether this controller will be worth it to you will come down to, do you care about the charging stand? Because it does come with the charging stand at that $50 price. Do you care about being able to switch between Bluetooth and the wireless receiver? That makes it so you could play on the Switch, immediately just swap it over, and then start playing on your phone, for instance, or your Mister like I do. Do you care about having 2 shortcut buttons on the back? Keep in mind though that these can only be assigned to another button, so you can't have extra buttons. You can just change these to one of these front buttons or the top buttons. Do you like RGB lighting on your controllers? Do you want turbo buttons? Do you want a swappable faceplate? Do you want to be able to swap these buttons so that it's more an Xbox style where A is on the bottom, or a Nintendo style where A is on the side? And are you afraid of stick drift and you want Hall effect sticks? Now I have not used this enough to give you like long-term reliability. Like I'd have to use it for years at this point because I've been using the Switch Pro controller for 8 years. So the reliability of this is a known quantity. The reliability of this seems very solid, but I can't give you 8 years worth of experience to let you know if it's as reliable as a Pro controller. But provided you like the feel of this controller, which you can only know from actually trying it yourself, it is pretty much in every way a better value than the Switch controller. And if you want to take advantage of any of those extra features, it will be worth it to you to get it over a Switch Pro controller. Yeah, my complaints of this are very minor. Like I said, these buttons are too close to each other, and the short throw on ZL and ZR are not great, but you also don't have to use the short throw. Oh, one more thing that I forgot to mention is that these have a hair trigger mode, so that as soon as you press it, it'll activate. So you can kind of pick whichever throw you want and it'll still be immediate. Anyways, I hope that review was of some help to you. I think it's a very good controller. Gone are the days of third-party controllers just being complete garbage. Like back in the day, Mad Catz, nobody wanted to use those third-party controllers. And if you got stuck with the third-party controller during Mario Kart or whatever, it was a very painful experience. But now there are legitimately third-party controller options that are not only good, but in pretty much a lot of ways better than the first-party controller. So thanks again for watching. Hope that was of some use. I'll see you in the next one.